Welcome back, everybody. More homeowners are hearing about the mortgage mediation through Washington State's Foreclosure Fairness Act, but are unsure whether they qualify or even how or who to ask for assistance. The attorneys at Advantage Legal Group have been helping people save their homes from foreclosure through this state law for years. Please welcome attorney and founder of Advantage Legal Group, Jonathan Smith. Welcome back. Again, really enjoy talking about this because so few people know they have this option, and we're lucky in Washington State. If you have a problem, you can, through a housing counselor or a lawyer, ask for this process. Can you explain to everybody what the law does?
Absolutely. You know, when your neighbor is unemployed, it's called a recession. When you're unemployed, it's called a depression.
Yeah.
And for thousands of Washington State residents, the housing crisis is over. But for thousands more, it continues on. You know, they are still struggling to save their homes, many of which still from 2008 or 9. But a lot of people are now falling behind on a modification that they got earlier. And it's gotten a lot more difficult, or it is a lot more difficult, the longer this process goes on to get a modification. It's more difficult the second time around, especially if it's been less than 5 years since you got your last modification.
And explain to everybody what a modification is, what you've done if you've gotten one.
Well, a lot of people will have filled out all that paperwork after 2008, 2009, and they sent it all into their lender, whether it was B of A or Wells Fargo, whoever, and they actually got a modification, which was very rare. 70–80% of the people who applied did not get them. But maybe you got one, and now it's been a few years and something has happened in life. Maybe divorce or a separation or illness or loss of a job, or something has happened and you've fallen behind again. And you're going to try and get another modification, and you assume since you were able to do it on your own last time, that you should be able to do it on your own this time.
And that means just approaching the bank, getting them to let you get caught up and redo your financing if that's necessary.
Right.
So this time it's a little harder if you're going back for seconds on this. How can you help people?
Well, if you've already tried once, it does get a lot harder. And what we're also seeing now is they're beginning to limit the number of times you can apply. It used to be people come to me, they'd applied 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and then we would just put together another new package and get it in with a, quote, change in circumstances. Well, now they're starting to say, well, we've already reviewed this enough times, we're not even going to look at the new one. So it's imperative that you get this thing looked at if you're going to try again very early, because they're beginning to change those rules. And so you're really going to need to make sure whatever you submit is correct the first time if you can. So, you know, we provide free consultations. You know, we'll go over your numbers with you. We'll try and figure out. And if they do move you into foreclosure, we have the Washington State Foreclosure Fairness Act, which, as you indicated, we can move them into that act. It is overseen by the Washington State Department of Commerce, and as long as you're in the Foreclosure Fairness Act, they cannot proceed with a foreclosure. And it's a structured situation where we can kind of control what we submit, and we get answers back.
And they have to come to the table.
Yeah, they have to come to the table.
Which is so important, because you can't get anywhere if you can't get that far.
A lot of people are caught in that paper chase, and it just goes on, and you really don't want to do that anymore.
Let's talk about some examples of cases that you've had. The first one with Select Portfolio Servicing.
Absolutely. This was a client who, as you say, was with SPS. Their original payment was $2,530. Their new payment is $2,324. The original interest rate was 7%, and they got a new interest rate of 3.375. Now, that was only a reduction of $206, not the dramatic ones we usually see, but the interest rate, so it was only 8.8%, and they were 36 months behind. A lot of this all has to do with how much money you make too. The more you make, actually the higher the payment is going to be.
But at least you get caught up.
They're at least caught up, correct.
All right, Ditech.
Ditech is becoming real, they bought a lot of loans in this area, so people are probably seeing Ditech coming, you know, that their services change. These people had a $2,200 a month payment, and their new payment is $2,020. The original interest rate was 5.25. The new interest rate is 2%. It was a reduction of only $179, but in 8.15%, but they were 77 months behind.
Wow, so they had been lagging from the actual recession.
Correct.
That's amazing if you can get caught up from there. The third lender I haven't heard of.
This is Ocwen. They've been around for a number of years. These people had an original interest rate payment, $2,455. Their new payment is $2,052. Their new interest rate is 2%. Their old interest rate was 2%. It's a reduction of $403.85 or 16%. They were 12 months behind, but this is their second modification.
Got it.
Say they got one within the last 5 years down to 2%, and fortunately they had not been able to use all of the extension out to 40 years, so we were able to get this recast so that they're caught up again, which is the important part.
And then the fourth, B of A.
B of A, the payment was $1,585. New payment is $1,457. Original interest rate was 5.25. Now they're in a 2% fix, reduction of $127 or 8%. Again, they were 12 months behind, but they got a $95,000 principal reduction because, again, this was a second, well, I think this was a second one too. They had a higher interest rate on their first round than they did the second round.
And people can come to you, get a free consultation, find out if this is promising or not as a possibility for them going forward.
Because they're beginning to limit people's ability to just apply over and over again, if this is your home and you want to keep it, we do provide these free consultations. I mean, it is so worth it to come see what we can tell you about whether you qualify or not. Just, go to our website, advantagelegalgroup.com, or call the 800 number they're going to put up on right after this, 1-800-MEDIATION, and we'd be happy to meet with you and go over your options.
Terrific. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it. For more information about the Foreclosure Fairness Act or to schedule a free consultation with Advantage Legal Group, please call them at the number on your screen. We'll be back in a moment to tackle an important health issue for men. We'll be back after this break.